Hi friends, welcome to episode 70. Today's Tuesday and feels like I've just gone away really because I was up here over the weekend, Saturday and Sunday, back at work yesterday. The school kids are off, we run a lot of school buses, so I can bunk off work. So I'm here today, Tuesday, and I'm going to be back on here on Good Friday, Saturday, Sunday and Easter Monday. Now, I've got an update on the fuel pump, which hopefully may well be back with us by the Easter break, which is really good news. This weekend, if I'm going to put that fuel system back, I need to get that auxiliary tank repainted, and I need to do the bulkhead and get those little bits and pieces done. April showers have started and it is pouring with rain out there. What a shame. Never mind, it's dry in here, and let's see how we get on in this episode, number 70.
Right, friends, so this is part one of a two-part Easter special. 4 days over Easter, Good Friday, Saturday, Sunday and Easter Monday, plus the Tuesday of the week before. I was also up on the weekend before that, and guess what? Because the kids were off, I did another couple of days the week before when I got some painting done. There wasn't this horrible weather. You know it's bank holiday in the UK because it always rains. So there we are, and we're known for April showers. So right, now this edition, I've got a few key things that I need to do, and they're probably not the most exciting, I hasten to warn you. First of all, I'm going to talk about those metal panels between decks. I had hoped to make a start on replacing them, but I can't get my angle grinder in there. I can't get them out. So I'll have a chat with you about that. We're also going to make a start on removing the diesel from the bus and managing to get a small quantity of it on the floor. I've got an update on the panel, that ceiling panel that I had some problems with. I think the problems have gone away now. I think we might well be ready for the very final coat of paint. And also the fuel pump has come back as well. So that'll be a job for part two. But nonetheless, let's go on with part one.
Right, this is the near side of the bus, and I had planned for here to make some plates, like little ploncon plates like you saw on the outside of the bus, make some ploncon plates there. But there isn't enough material in here to connect the plate onto. So we're going to have to go a little bit harder with it. We're going to have to strip out the entire plate and build a brand new plate that starts at the top here and then runs down to this point here. I hadn't planned to do that, but that does mean I've got to undo these bolts which run through to where the ceiling is. That's going to push the ceiling back a little bit, but yeah, okay, it can sit at the back of the barn. It's a big problem. But this is one of the bigger of the three problems I've got. I've got that one with the window upstairs, and I've also got a little bit of rot down the bottom which we need to sort out on the bus. So yeah, I'll keep you updated on how I get on, but this is going to be our next big project, I think.
There was so much rust on this gully that every time you touched it, it fell on the floor. So I needed to start a process of cleaning it up. Before I did any other work, at least get the bigger bits and the smaller bits that were malingering in there out. So out come the vacuum cleaners, very useful little thing. So I cleaned up as much as I could before I started work on it. What I wanted to do was to cut out as much of those pans as possible without actually removing the wood. I've got a bit of a thing about trying to leave everything intact. I don't like just simply destroying things for the benefit of it. And I could just cut that wood out and take the frame out and what have you. But I don't know, I like to have copies because every now and then there'll be something, a little curveball that you think, I'm pleased I didn't dismantle that now because I've got an example of how it should be when it goes back again. Those three wooden strips that you see at top of shot, they're probably likely to be all the same, but nonetheless I still want to remove them intact. So out comes a hacksaw to try and carefully cut out the metalwork that lips around the side of that wood. Unfortunately, well, not so unfortunately, but I've got a lot of different tools up there. But the hacksaw is one. I've got drills, I've got cold chisels, I've got, you name it, I've got it. But the one thing is, my angle grinder, all the stuff that I needed, I couldn't get into that tiny confined space. So I had to give up on that for the time being, but nonetheless, I did make a small cut in it. Right, and here is that cut. Yeah, not very good, is it? Now, you will notice, if you look very carefully, you'll see the join between the two parts of the RT. They probably weren't very clear when I put it on the previous edition, but the top piece of wood stops where that little lip is, and then you've got the lip, and then a new piece of wood starts just underneath there. Now, that is where the join is. Now, the part of that metal, the problem is that metal passes right through the middle of those two bits of wood, and then it's bolted inside the bus. So to get it out, as I mentioned before, and other people have said this as well, not just Roy, the only way of getting it out properly is to jack the upper deck off the top of the bottom of the bus. And I really don't want to be doing that, to be quite honest. It sounds really a pain in the backside, and I don't really want to break anything while I'm doing it. So what I'm going to have to do is leave that small portion, that 1.5 inches, 2 inches or whatever that's on that thing, in situ, and then work around the rest of it. Right, so with that in mind, I do love a good diagram, and here's a good diagram. So that bit that's all rusted away is shown by that line in green. Now, the problem I've got is that it tucks itself just underneath the upper deck floorboard. You can just see that, where you've got that gully, that edge there, there's two little bits of wood. That's supposed to be for when they mop out the bus and it channels the water away. But I assume that this has got something to do with preventing water build up inside the bus, because it's odd that there isn't one on sort of just below that floor. And I did when I looked at it, I thought maybe that bit of metal does go underneath there, and whether that piece of the floor which just sits there actually continues across the top of that wooden block and then runs down to the edge, roughly in line with the green one. Now, there's definitely two pieces of metal there, and I assume that one of them may well be that little bit of the ceiling, which is pictured here. Anyway, so that's what I've got to do. I've got to replace that. So having had a look at the diagram, let's have a look at the real thing.
So what I need to do is I'm going to have to cut this out and then remove these bolts and put the new plate from here right the way across to here. That's the original old plate. Apologies if it goes out of focus a little bit. But yeah, that's where the original plate came to, and then it fits onto that bit of wood. The big problem is I can't get my angle grinder in there to cut all this detritus out. So I've had to order up a very small angle grinder, not a Dremel, because you'll be here all week. But yeah, I've had to order up a smaller angle grinder that I can get into here to cut this out along this seam. I also need to do like a sample to send to the fabricators. Right, and let me show you what I tried to do. This is what I tried to do the other day. I tried to cut this out. This is cold chisel, and let's see if I can get it to focus a bit better. That's better. Right, that's cold chisel along there, and that, as you can see, is drilling from inside. That really didn't work either. So hence the reason why I've got to use an angle grinder on it to get it out. There is a support bracket that runs down here and here inside the saloon. So I'm going to use that for a bit of strength. And I'm also going to use this bit here. So I'm going to clean all that out, liberate those two bolts, and then we'll bolt the new panel down here and then down onto here. So yeah, you can see a little bit more crud there. So that's the plan. I'm going to replace this wood as well. That's going.
So this is the only bit of the RT on the near side where it looks as it should do. So unfortunately, because I can't get a copy from the rest of the bus, this bit nearest the camera is going to have to be removed to make my template so that it can be made by the manufacturer. There you go. So, right, let's move on to the frame. Right, this is a little time-consuming project that I need to do before we start putting anything back on the bus. When I took those panels off, there was a small number of screws, panel pins and various other bits and pieces that were still left in that wood. First thing I'm going to try and do is to see if I can actually remove it using a screwdriver. This is a special screwdriver designed for thumping things. If not, get the power drill out and drill the thing out. So yeah, that's the best thing. I also try to get them out with a pair of mole grips as well. So the first thing you want to do really is to try and get rid of them. If you can't, the last resort is the angle grinder and then chop the head off. But what it does mean is you end up with a bit of rusty old screw still in the wood. Now it's not going to affect the integrity of the bus, but when you come to put panels back or beading back, if you've still got a bit of metal stuck in there, you could, if you're really unlucky, try to put the new screw into a space already occupied by that rusty old thing, and sadly that will probably may well snap the screw you're trying to put in, which will cause all sorts of problems, because if it's the beading, you'll end up having to take the panels back off again to try and sort the problem out. So I'm going to mark up where the screws are that are damaged, so I can try and avoid them in the future. But anyway, right, well, so that was that horrible little job. We're going to do the whole of the frame, all the way up to the upper deck windows, and, you know, from the front to the back. It did take my time as well. Right, having done that, the next thing I needed to do was to rub the frame down. So I haven't got the screws out. I want to get the mastic, because there's a lot of old mastic on there, and it's pretty hard. And I don't want to have little lumps when we try and put the panel back. So removing the mastic and any other imperfections in the wood was my next task. So yeah, so I rubbed all of that side down, got that out of the way. So that's that job finished. So yeah, Tuesday. Quite boring tasks, I suppose, but that's the joys of owning an RT. Okay, and to add to the joys of an RT, not all of the wood was plain sanding. Oh, that's a bit of a bad joke. But anyway, yeah, this is horrid. This is the wood around the fuel tank, which on an RT is on the near side. On RMs and just about everything else, they put them on the off side, but the RTs had them on the near side. So this wood around this area, and also on the foot at the base, there's two of them that have gone rotten, so they'll need to be replaced. I mean, that's probably the worst, other than the upper deck window. The last bay window had wood also in a terrible condition, and I'll deal with that later on. But yeah, I've ordered the wood now. My brother's going to be dealing with that for me, and I'll probably pop up and pick that up from him, because I can do most of it myself, actually, I think. But there we go. I'll give it a try at least. Right, sticking with wood, here's something a little bit more positive. This is that ceiling panel I had a little bit of a problem with, and I've got a bit of an update on where we are with it.
Right, this is that panel that I had the problem with the other day, with that lump, which was very, very visible. This is panel number 4, the very first big panel you see when you get into the RT. I really didn't want it to be visible. And frankly, if I hadn't have known where it was, because I've marked the back of the panel, I wouldn't be able to spot it this morning. I sprayed this on Tuesday. It's a little bit orange peely, so I'm not entirely happy with it. I was hoping it would flatten down a little bit, but it hasn't. But nonetheless, another coat of paint on this, and I think we'll lose that. Yeah, I think this probably now we can say that project's completed. I can't put these back in the bus because we've still got that work to do on the near side. But anyway, yeah, this will go into storage at the back of the shed now. Result. It makes a return. It's back. This is the fuel pump, the RT. So a little job over Easter to put this back on the bus. And it's damned heavy. Right, let's get on.
Ah, look at that beastie. Welcome back, old friend. The heart of the RT. Without this, it's not going to go anywhere. Anyway, yeah, so I won't tell you how much it cost me to get this repaired. I'll keep that a secret. Anyway, yeah, he'd done a brilliant job on it. I mean, it is really good. I saw it in bits, and I see it like this now. That is not silver paint. He's used some very super duper cleaning chemical on it, and that is the original casting. I mean, that is absolutely beautiful, and I can't allow that to go back in the bus without finishing painting that bulkhead. So that was a little job I needed to do, and the header tank, and then follow some of Dave's advice about putting it back. One of the things he said to me is, Dean, whatever you do, you've got to get that rancid diesel out of the bus, because if it goes through this, it's going to cause problems. So, yep, following Dave's advice, I'm going to have to drain that tank. Luckily, we've got one of these at work. This is a electric pump for pumping out diesel and stuff like that. I put it in the back of the car, complete with this container, and I wondered if I ever got stopped by the police on the way to the barn. This is the kit that thieves use for stealing diesel out of lorries. It's a horrible thing. Truck drivers, bus drivers, coach drivers, we all get this, unfortunately. People who just come and thieve our diesel. But anyway, this is the kit you would use. I wouldn't recommend it, obviously, to be travelling around with that in the car, because the police might nick you for going equipped. Right, there's the old diesel coming out. It looks like it's in a hospital, doesn't it? It looks like blood. It's a very odd colour when compared to modern diesel. The reason it's foaming at one side is there's actually a little bit of a kink in the pipe just before the pump, and it's causing it to foam slightly. Yeah, so this is getting rid of it. I'm going to have to take this, I'll put this in this container, and there was a second container later on. But yeah, and I have to get rid of this at work. I wouldn't even put that in an old lawnmower or an old tractor or something like that, but it's completely unfit for purpose. You will notice that I think, right, now's the time to stop it. Yep, I'll just get it right to the very top, use everything I can in the can, and unfortunately, by the time I got to switch it off, it had come out the top, look. So, right, now I wonder, what the hell am I going to do? So, yeah, don't worry, I'd clean the barn floor up later on. So, yep, that's getting rid of that rancid old diesel. Well, it wasn't going to give up easy, was it? Right, so, yeah, there's all that diesel all over the floor. Luckily, hidden around the corner, I've got a big pile of old sawdust that I created years ago when planing up the panels for the off side of the bus. That's part of the wood that I bought for the off side. So there we go. So I just had to clean it up. And I also, over Easter, I gave the floor a clean with a jet wash, and I also cleaned some of the chassis off as well. So yeah, never mind, stuff happens. Right, so before we wrap, Dave Jones asked a question. Hi Dave. What was below that panel? So I didn't see any damage on it when I sort of removed the plonkon. Here is some damage that was on that panel. Nowadays you just sling a load of filler in that because it really is quite minor. But it looks, if you look at it, something's gone sort of from the 5 o'clock to sort of the 11 o'clock position, and it's clouded it upwards. God knows what that is. But anyway, they deemed it sufficient to put a plonkon plate over it. I couldn't find any obvious damage on the other panel because there were 2 panels with plonkon plates. I couldn't find anything obvious, and it might well be, Brian Watkinson suggested there were other reasons for putting plonkons on, but that's one of the reasons there, damage on the panel. So thank you very much for watching. I will do part 2 of the Easter break, and I promise it might be a little bit more interesting than this one, but nonetheless, if you enjoyed it, thanks very much for sticking around. Yeah, YouTube as usual would recommend some more videos to watch.